I need you all to understand how many times I was asked, so do you sail this weekend?
That's it. That's my intro.
Hey, I'm Amanda, you're watching Swell Entertainment, and today I am coming to you from my poorly lit hotel room to talk to you about Sail GP in San Francisco for their grand final. What is Sail GP? Giant sailboats racing. Flying boats, iconic cities, world-class athletes. Adrenaline-fueled races, legendary global locations, rival national teams, and record-breaking speeds. Sail GP is the most exciting racing on water powered by nature. I should note before anyone questions, Amanda's explaining this poorly. Listen, I had not ever watched a full race for Sail GP before coming. We're back to my roots. For those of you who don't know that are only here because of F1 and various other motorsport races, I normally know nothing about an event before I go to it. That is usually the goal. I am there to go and review the attendee experience. It just so happens that I'm self-employed and so I get to make my motorsport brain rot part of my job, okay? And that's why I've been going to so many races. Sail GP, though, is more up my alley, where this is like a spectacle event, really, that gets advertised a lot, but not a lot of people seem to go to. But a lot of people do. Like, well, we're going to talk about the crowd here, obviously, all the attendees. Truly fascinating. I've only ever seen clips of Sail GP on Instagram. Not TikTok, not Twitter, Instagram. Why? For some reason, they figured out how to advertise Sail GP to fans of F1. I'm not even kidding. Because I talked to several other people as well this weekend who had the same exact experience where they had never heard of Sail GP until they started getting inundated with ads on Instagram. And guess what they also happen to be fans of? Formula One. Oracle is a sponsor of Sail GP. Oracle also sponsors Red Bull, obviously. And Rolex is also a major sponsor of Sail GP. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But obviously car racing, boat racing, there is going to be some overlap, and that might be why. But for the most part, I'd only seen clips. And then when I found out that their final was going to be in San Francisco, my state, of course, I was like, oh, this is easy. Let's do that. So they have gone all over the world. I believe they had 12 stops this year. And then this is just where they're ending up. Something's interesting with Sail GP is I don't know if they are fully just doing a 12-month calendar or if they're just doing a rolling calendar or whatever. Their season 5, actually starts in November, in just a couple of months. So if you are intrigued and you want to go check them out, their next season starts and then goes through the next of the year. And then their San Francisco stop is not going to be the end of the season like it was this year. It's going to be in March, which I think is going to be a nightmare, frankly, because I'm sorry, have you been to San Francisco in March? It's going to be so cold. It was like lovely this weekend. I got sunburnt because I'm me. I wore a hat today. I still managed to get sunburn on my forehead. How? So I booked my ticket about 3 weeks ago, which is fairly in the norm for me with events. And I decided that I was going to do the premium waterfront because then I could review more for you guys just in case. Because again, I wasn't super familiar with their events. I haven't heard anything talked about of like, oh, you can just do general. You can just do this. I hadn't heard anything about that. Premium waterfront for 2 days. Each day, about $235, which is a good amount of money, especially for one day of an event. The general admission ticket for a one day is $75. The people that just watch from the park, free. I obviously can't attest to any of the other venues. Here, you fully could watch this from the comfort of literally any other spot of the Bay Shoreline and just have the app open so that you can track it, because they have a cool AR thing where you can actually like watch the boats on the thing and it's got the timing. It's pretty cool. It's free. That's nice. I did play around with that a little bit today. I didn't know about that yesterday, but I played around with it a little bit today. I was sitting at the water, like literally pointing at the water to track where the boats were. That's pretty cool. Obviously you wouldn't hear the announcers, but I couldn't hear the announcers either, but we'll talk again in a second. So Sail GP was at a yacht club, One Yacht Club Way, I believe, or something is literally what it was called. And there was a park next to it. And then from there you could see the Golden State Bridge on the left side. Okay. And then it's along the coastline, obviously, as to where you would go to watch this race. And we basically just lined up along the harbor. This is the giant line that they let us in to go through the ticket section. Before they even opened the gates, they didn't start letting us in and start doing tickets until about 12:50. And then they didn't actually let us in until 1. But they did move us up through those gates at about 12:50. Then they break us up into multiple lines.
So there was in fact a separate line for premium once we got inside this gate. There is something called Adrenaline Lounge that they are taking very seriously.
The multiple lines in particular are obviously general admission, ADA, and premium. I don't think ADA should have to wait with premium, frankly. For most people, they took them through the Adrenaline Lounge entrance. What is the Adrenaline Lounge, you ask? Something that I would have loved to have seen advertised more. I'm assuming it was sold out by the time I started looking for my ticket, maybe. Someone said, oh no, it was there. It was just all the way at the bottom and it was a lot of money. I think she assumed I wasn't crazy enough to pay for it. For at least one of the days, I probably would have done it, frankly. I think the number I heard was $1,000. I probably would have done it for at least one of the days, just to review it. But it was a whole separate thing, and they said it was the Adrenaline Lounge. They had a separate line. There was no waiting. They basically were like scanning, checking, going through. The Adrenaline Lounge, the easiest way I can explain it for anyone who's familiar with F1 is probably similar to a paddock pass or paddock club, and it was a full tent. I'm assuming food service, I'm assuming some form of fan if you need it, and then they were also able to get onto a boat to watch the race from the water. I should also note there was a bring your own boat ticket. I don't know the number off the top of my head for that because obviously I don't have a boat. Amanda commits to the I-Tridents, you don't have to, and gets a boat. I don't think my accountant would vibe with that. You bought a boat for one video. Really? There was a viewing space where you could bring your own boat. Going actually through security was actually fairly quick. You are dealing with a lot of people. You're going to start dealing with a lot of people who aren't sure how to work Eventbrite, some QR codes. More than once yesterday and today, they would walk up and down being like, make sure the brightness on your phone is turned up. If you have your tickets printed out, unfold them. But it was fairly quick. They checked my bag. We walked through security. I always appreciate a good security sweep. And then I got my wristband. This was yesterday. This was today. This was to prove I'm 21. I still don't drink, but I always think it's good to have just in case. The actual strip of the fan village is fairly small. This event itself is fairly small as far as the venue goes, which is why, again, it's like, what do you personally value in your event? For me, shorter entry line, okay, already a bonus point. They have a separate bathroom for premium and media. The premium bathrooms were like the nice camper style bathrooms that they have at certain music festivals and things like that. A lot of people that I spoke to in the premium section told me it's worth it alone. The ticket price is worth it alone for that. Gaps between races are so small. So if you need to use the bathroom, just having a bathroom that's going to have next to no line because there's just significantly less people that are going to be using that bathroom, it is kind of nice. So, something to know. They had food. They had a few different food options out here. They also had the merch. Merch line was bad. They had a sales simulator where you could go and try out sailing yourself with Sail GP. They had a booth that was talking about the buoys that they have.
Called the Markset bot, and we just use an app to tell it where to go, and then it just drives there, and then its default behavior is just to stay there. And
okay.
Then they can race around.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Great, thank you.
And it was also cool because then when I knew that, I wasn't like, oh no, it's drifting or someone's pulling it. I would be like, oh my God, like that's thing's actually like moving right now in a position. That's pretty cool. Like it's just something I haven't seen before. So that was cool. And they're pretty big. And so it was cool. They had one out there for people to see, which was cool. They had an Oracle thing as well that I don't think you could go inside, but they had like screens showing like some of the data that they had for the different strategists and boats and all of that for the teams. Again, pretty sparse out here. Big Sail GP sign as well. Some seating spaces, not a lot of coverage, but you know, time of year. Again, when it's overcast, you can still get sunburned. The sun is still there. It's just not right in your face, so you may not get the heat. It was fairly chilly. It was very nice considering down in LA it's like 100 degrees right now. And then I went over to find my space. So the first grandstand was the premium grandstand. Now this section was interesting as well because they had a whole couple of rows that were reserved for, I believe, a sponsor for, I want to say it was the New Zealand team, but I'm not certain off the top of my head. One of their sponsors. Several rows. And I'm assuming were in the Adrenaline Lounge and then brought over there because they came in all together in like a group. It was interesting. I'm not quite sure what was going on there. Even though it's premium waterfront, it is still first come, first serve. You don't have a reserved seat. And these bleachers are the same bleachers as the regular bleachers for $75, okay? And the thing with this as well, these bleachers are so cramped. I'm 5'2". I could not move my knees. It's funny because they put cushioning, they put like carpeting down on the stairs, but then nothing on the actual bleachers themselves. It's just an interesting choices all around, okay? And then there was no coverage for these bleachers. There was coverage on the tippy top because they had two separate bars, okay, there as well, which were free. I could pretty much drink anything there, which was nice. I just got sodas, which were free. Had snacks there as well, which were just like chips and crackers, meats, olives, caprese salad, skewers, shrimp cocktail, all of that. And then on some occasions, they were coming up and down with trays of various drinks and stuff, and then sometimes coming around with trays of food. They did it more yesterday than they did it today, but also at the same time, something I want to know, which another person did mention as well. Once the race starts, again, when you're paying the $200, the reality is that you're paying for a premium experience, okay? And so to do that, there's certain things where it's like, what exactly are you paying for? Kind of hope for a premium experience. Like I said, we're just sitting on the bleachers, but these bleachers are so cramped. It is so hard to move. I could not easily go and like, oh, I want more crackers and go and get more crackers. So with the fact that most of us, once the races start especially, are stuck there, they should have been coming around with food much more than they were. Someone did say, oh, I heard they're having trouble with replenishment because people were eating the food so much. Because of course they are. It's around lunchtime. People are hungry. This pissed me off. This keeps happening. I am learning because it annoys me every time. I see this in Formula One too. I don't care that I am in a specialty seat or a specialty club. If the race is happening, cut the music. Cut it. Turn it off. The DJ can take a break. The DJ should not be spinning tracks while the race is happening and I can't hear the announcers. Why are you doing this? What was the point of this? I'm so curious, okay? I have no idea if they could hear it on the general side, but they were commentating. They were broadcasting the commentators. So why would you then be blasting music at the same time? And it wasn't too aggressively loud, but it was loud enough that I couldn't hear the commentary people. That's insane. Stop it. Formula One does this too. It drives me insane, okay? I don't care how much money I paid. I'm here for the race. Let me watch the race, okay? The food's not happening because we're watching the race, but the music is what we're going to broadcast. It drove me insane. It was ridiculous. The racing itself. A few F1 content creators that I know reached out to me and they're like, hey, let me know what it's like, because I also keep getting those ads. And the thing with Sail GP, I don't fully understand it, but I want to note a couple of things. I met quite a few people in line. First off, like I said in the opening, without fail, every single person I ended up talking to asked if I sailed. Now, again, we were in a yacht club. When I applied for my ticket, when I got my ticket, it did ask what my yacht club affiliation was. If I was affiliated with a yacht club or not. I put no. What? I think in the entry. And so everyone asked me if I sailed. This crowd, not all, but a lot, were older and white. A good chunk of them. Their backgrounds, like which countries they come from, all over the place. But a lot of white people. A lot of them older. A lot of mother-son duos that were there, where it's like, yeah, like their son was like my age or older, was a fan of F1, and then found out about it through that. And then they just came on like an outing or whatever, or like they were just coming out together or something, which was nice to see. The younger people that I did see were children with their parents, obviously. A lot of just families. I really would not say that there were like groups of young people here, you know, the way that I see at F1 and a lot of other sporting events. This was predominantly a lot of older couples or a lot of like older friend groups and all of that. So just something to know for like the type of demographic that was at this event. A couple that I met in line yesterday were very sweet and were talking about how this was their third time actually coming to a Sail GP event in San Francisco. The first year, it sounds like they did do the Adrenaline Lounge, and they actually said they did not like it because when they did it, it was not, or the equivalent of the Adrenaline Lounge. They said they paid $1,000 to go on a ship and watch it from the boat. And they said it was not that fun because they couldn't hear the actual commentary for the race. They like didn't broadcast or whatever. They're like, that's not fun for us. And then the next year, they did their own boat. I think this year they were just on the shoreline or something like that. Or they were on the shoreline last year and then this year as well. I'm not quite sure. Some other people that I mentioned that I met who said that they had done, bring your own boat or on other people's boats. They said that it's a cool experience, but like you're obviously focused on making sure you are able to deal with the water because the water in the bay is fairly choppy, obviously, and it's incredibly windy. So you're kind of multitasking while trying to watch a race. It's just not conducive to a fun experience for them in particular. Something to note. To go back to the point with the couple, is they said that they also had watched the America's Cup here, and that was not fun for them. This is a much better viewing experience, which they wanted to note. And I heard that from a couple of people as well. The actual Sail GP is a fairly good amount of space, but it's nothing that is too outside of the realm where like I could see enough without binoculars. I could see enough without my glasses on. I had my sunglasses on pretty much the entire time, and I could still fairly much see the boats, which is something to note because I have horrible eyesight. My sunglasses are not prescription. I could still see the boats fairly well. I did also use my phone quite a bit, but nothing crazy, okay? I did borrow some people's binoculars yesterday, but I do think that you can enjoy the race for Sail GP without them. So today was the grand final. This is also the end of the season. So they have all been getting points all season. And if they already had enough points, they were in the grand final yesterday. So that was New Zealand. New Zealand was the only team that had qualified before yesterday's first race even started. And then there was 2 other spots available. By the end of the day, I think by the second race even, not even that, Australia also had qualified for the final. And then it was between France and Spain. They were basically tied. Some teams were so far out of the points that there was no way, even if they had won all 3 races yesterday, that they would have made it to the finals. The US team was one of those teams. I think they were 8 in the standings, and then there was 2 other teams below them as well. But they were all competing still because the finale of the actual season was still going on till today. And then the grand final was for $2 million today. That was the only 3 teams, winner take all race that happened today. And then the actual season winners as well, for like the championship behind the grand final, was what you were still trying to get up in the ranking for. So it's like, hey, we may not be in the grand final, but we still want to place as well as we can, race as well as we can to get us high up in the finals. I don't know why I'm explaining this like this works any differently than any other championship. So the start line and the finish line would be in 2 different spots, which is interesting. The start line is something that is obviously a proverbial start line. They know it. We know it because we're looking at the screen. I could get by enough understanding watching it without having watched it before, but it is something that I'm sure watching it at home would probably make more sense, because basically it's essentially lap times where you're just trying to get through certain legs of the course in the quickest way possible. And the route in which you do that, there's some leeway in how you do it as long as you get to where you need to be. Everyone starts at the same spot and then everyone finishes at the same spot. There are bounds. You cannot go out of bounds. Let's say everyone is going to the right. You can go left. If there's no other boats there, fantastic. You might get some speed. You might end up from the back to the front because of that, because you made up so much time, okay? With the wind, okay? You're not cutting off their sailing wind by having it be behind you, okay, or cutting through their wind or cutting through their waves. Something that I think they did that was not a good move as well, because I'm assuming they broadcasted this. I have no way of knowing off the top of my head. San Francisco's bay is very choppy and very windy. I heard the phrase multiple times from people, if you can sail in the bay, you can sail anywhere. But they did something that I thought was not a good move, where they kept advertising like how choppy and how much crashes there were and all of that at the practices, that unless I missed something, they did not sell tickets to. Okay. It's like, I don't know. I get it for broadcast purposes, it makes sense, but on site, it just kind of makes me think like, well, I would have loved to have been here for that. That would have been cool to see the practices, you know? I just always think it's interesting when they talk about like the things that happened, or, you know, show clips of things that happened when we weren't there. You know, I always think that's a not a good move. It's one thing to tell us about like how choppy the water has been and all of that. It's another thing to be like, we had crashes, we had near capsizes, we had all this stuff. And it's like, okay, cool. That was yesterday. The wind is different today. Like, I don't understand why. Like, I get it, but I also am like, what are we doing? France was doing very good yesterday, and I think the mother and son that I ended up sitting next to yesterday, she was actually French. They were very sweet. She was very excited that I knew F1 and had watched Drive to Survive because she really wanted to talk about Charles Leclerc. Wonderful woman. She was very fun. She was obviously very excited that France was doing really well. The US, you guys did your best. I appreciate it. There was nothing really that crazy yesterday unless I missed it. There was a few like near misses, a couple of going into the waves with the catamarans. These boats are crazy. I really do want to watch the broadcast now after watching this because I'm like I said, a lot of the clips that I've seen are after the fact. So obviously a lot of the clips show the more crazier moments because obviously that's what's going to get picked up in an algorithm, especially with someone like me who's like not super into sailing. I used to sail when I was a Girl Scout. I did compete in a couple of not these sailboats, but like 2-man sailboats, okay? Like 2 to 3-man sailboats competitions in Girl Scouting. That is the extent of my sailing knowledge, okay? It is really cool to see just like, they're basically doing this while essentially running a marathon while in these boats because they're running back and forth. The grinders are going crazy with it. It's truly an intensive experience. They're so close because obviously the wind is actually better closer to the shore. So, they were trying to when they were trying to, tack backwards and all of that. That's not the right phrase. If anyone gets on me about terminology in this video, I'm just proud of myself. I haven't said the phrase track limits yet, okay? I'm talking about the viewing experience more than anything. They come closer to the shore because that's where the wind is better and it can actually help you propel you a little faster. But then obviously the water can also be choppier closer to the shore. And then the finish line actually moves into position so that you cross over. Literally, they finish right in front of the shore. And they got pretty close. Like there was I probably have quite a few clips where it's just like 0.1 shooting on my phone where you can see how close they are. These boats are also massive. That also helps as far as the viewing experience goes, being able to see these boats and the way that they are moving around. Between races, these boats are just out in the water. They are very close in time, which is good for a viewing experience, especially at home, whether you are at the event. I do think an all-day event as a racing fan for F1 and all of that and, IndyCar and all of that, like I do like an all-day experience that is fun. This is literally this is a 4-hour experience, really. It's from 1 to 5 these 2 days. Even for the final today, like they were like, okay, it closes at 5. France did very well yesterday to the point that France and Spain were tied going into today. Something to note as well, today was annoying. They put up the backdrops for the photo thing, which is fine, great, dandy. It does block the view of the water line for a lot of the people. Something they did between races for merch and things like that as well yesterday and today were little trivia with the crowd. They did that with the premium grandstand as well as the general admission a few times where you could win a hat or a t-shirt, I believe. And it would be little factoids about like Sail GP, like who won the first 3 years, who has the record for the fastest time in Sail GP during a race, things like that. Someone was explaining to me that some of these teams are still owned by Sail GP. Others have sponsors and are then privately owned or at least privately sponsored. Going into today, like I said, New Zealand was already a lock. Australia became a lock yesterday, and then it was between France and Spain, but France was currently qualifying going into the day, but they were basically tied with Spain. Then there was 2 races, okay, to then qualify again, finish the season, and then qualify for the final. During the first race, France was turning and ended up colliding with Switzerland, I think. They went over them, okay, and things were fine, but then it was realized on the playback and immediately France was winning. France would have knocked out Spain, I believe, at this point, but they broke one of their rudders while crushing it. Like fully on camera, you can see it snap off in half, basically. And so they immediately lost all speed and they just dropped down in the order immediately. They were out and got, I think, 8 penalty points for the collision as well because they were determined to be at fault, I believe. I do think the other team had the right of way, they said. And then they rushed to try and get the other part on board to repair the rudder. If they had been able to repair the rudder between the first race and the second race, they would have been fine. They still would have had the penalty points, but they would have been able to finish the second race. But they didn't have enough time. So they were able to get the rudder on board, but they did not have enough time to repair it. And so they were out of the second race. And Spain was essentially officially in the finals, okay? Spain did very well the second race. And then bing, bang, boom, the other teams pulled away so that the three teams could get ready for the final race. Okay. The format is essentially the same. It is the same. It's just less teams. Okay. If I were to go and watch any of the races back that I saw, it would probably be the final, because I feel like it would be much more easy for me to understand the overall racing format going forward by just having to look at three different teams' numbers and the way that they're racing and all of that, and making sense of that versus trying to juggle 10 teams. For the most part, they kept saying whoever gets the best start off the starting line is probably going to have the best race, but with the nature that can change in an instant. Spain did very well, but also something to note as well is that Australia has won the last 3 seasons when Spain crossed the line, which was interesting going into, because Spain had won the Euro Cup. The winner of the men's Wimbledon final is Spanish as well. And then I believe someone from the Spain team said that there was a golf tournament that Spain won as well today, or the last couple of days. So really, there was just a Spanish sweep across sporting this weekend. I always like things like that. I liked the fact that, McLaren had, the Triple Crown or whatever, where they got second place 3 times in a row during the Indy 500, Formula E, and I think, Formula F1 as well, I love things like that. Okay, I think that's fun. They lost a lot of speed and then still pulled it through to the finish line, and that was really cool to see, and everyone freaked out. Very fun, very fun. Great race, okay. They get taxied off of their catamaran over to the stage where we were, so I just stayed put where I was. Oh, I should also note, because all of the teams use radio, obviously, to talk to each other, the announcers can actually do interviews between races with the teams while they are still on the boat. So that's kind of cool. So like they would have cut to the cameras, and it would be like the drivers for the teams, talking with the announcers about like, yeah, that last race we did this. We're gonna hopefully do this. Think good thoughts, all this stuff, which is cool. So they were doing interviews while on the boat to come over to the stage.
Great opportunity now for the fans to meet the Spanish team as they make their way on shore. They will now have nothing left to do but collect the prize and the prize money.
Cool trophy, big trophy. They were also presented with a Rolex, the driver was, for the team. They did champagne celebrations, and then they cleared them out, and then they just let people come up and take photos on the stage, which is cool. And I started making my way out. I went and got merch yesterday, because I always think if you're going to get merch, get it the first day before it sells out, unless you're trying to save money, then wait, and then maybe everything you want is gone. I just got a hat and a couple of Team USA stuff.
And that is a wrap on Sail GP. I'm gonna go eat some crab. It's gonna be delicious.
All in all, fairly cool event, very fun. Little tweaks. Turn off the music. Please turn off the music. I hope next time, you guys are in LA too. I don't know, where do you guys race in LA? How's the wind in Long Beach? I can't imagine. So where would you race where you could show the view as well as you could hear? I'm so curious, like other locations, like if you could get this close to the water, the shoreline, the way you could here in San Francisco. So I'm truly fascinated. They're gonna be in LA next year. San Francisco, I would come back. But I obviously want to check out the LA location first. They go all over the world. As far as the cost of premium waterfront goes, again, it's a premium experience. There's not a ton of people here. If they were doing the same amount of tickets for the grandstands as they were, the standard grandstands, then there would be a problem, I think, with the cost, because I'd be like, there's a lot of people here. But it is less people. It is the food, it is the drinks, it is that, it's the separate bathrooms. So for one day, a $200 thing for a one-day event, it's not nothing, but I can't argue with it. Okay, but the food thing, I think you could do a little bit more of that. And I should be able to hear things. Turn off the music. But $75 for general admission, totally reasonable. Congrats to the Spain Sail GP team. I guess that's really it. I really don't have any other notes. Have you ever heard of Sail GP? Have you seen the ads for Instagram on Sail GP? Did you think it was a video game and not a sporting event? Let me know. Comment down below. Reminder, I stream on Twitch. Reminder that Swell Entertainment is now available on Spotify. Reminder that use code SWELL for 10% off on gamer subs. Shout out to my patrons. Thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon. If you also support me on Patreon, let me know down below. Like to me on all social media. They'll be all up here. And that's going to be a hell of a day. Goodbye. That was a horrible wake. Oh my god. Do I give off the vibe of someone that like sails? Do I give that vibe? Thank you, Oz, Eva, Ayana, Abby, Angel, Goth, Glenn, Palace, Pink, Jasmine, Lauren, Amy, Aslan, Medic, Rosie, Victor, Andrew, Tenzin, Sam, Mae West, Michael, Ryan, Adira, Nathan, Zwink, Literal, Jeffrey, Randy, QWERTY, Nomad, Thomas, Tasha, Donnie, Winter, Kenny, Robert, Cameron, Elliott.